closing day. What happens between your accepted offer and the time you move in? Let's talk about it. I'm Lynn Wyminga.
And I'm Lorna Willis, and we're with the Nadeau Real Estate Group, brokered by EXP. So Lynn, the offer's been accepted. Yay.
Yay.
Yay. What happens then?
Well, you've got your conditions to go through.
Yeah.
And once those are...
Financing, home inspection, anything like that. First thing you want to do though is get a lawyer, right? So I don't have a lawyer normally. A lot of people don't. So choosing a real estate lawyer. So one of the first things we usually get asked is, who would you recommend as a lawyer? So we work with a number of lawyers in the city, and
so we give a little list.
Give a list and say, check out their websites, check them out, look at their referrals, just as you did for choosing a realtor. Some lawyers may have a specialty in country properties. Mm-hmm. Some may have a specialty in condos. So, sometimes we'll say that we like this lawyer because they've done condos for us before and they know what they're doing. So you're going to contact a lawyer. You should at that time be able to get some idea of what the cost is going to be for their fees. Mm-hmm. And then what does the lawyer do? So the lawyer now takes that offer and they do the due diligence. So they're checking the zoning on the property. They're checking history on the property.
The title, make sure they can legally be sold.
Yeah, they're making sure that your realtor didn't make any mistakes in the offer that's going to hurt you. So the lawyer looks at that. They arrange for title insurance. The seller's lawyer takes care of getting the deed written. So it's all of the checks and balances and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Usually, I always say like 10 days before closing, give the lawyer's office a call. See when they want you to go in. It'll be a couple of days before closing when they want you to go in and sign documents.
Yeah.
They may ask you for some information in the meantime, and your realtor will make sure that all of the notices of fulfillment and things like that are getting sent to the lawyer. So you, your lawyer, and your realtor are going to work together during the weeks between the accepted offer and the closing. And talking about fulfilling or waiving conditions. So this is really important, and dates are very important in this, because if you miss a date, then your offer could go dead.
Yep.
Right? Could be null and void. So if you've got a financing condition, as soon as your offer is accepted, you want to contact your lender, let them know that you've got an accepted offer. They're going to want to see the offer. They're going to want to see a copy of the listing. They may want to talk to your realtor, ask some questions, but you definitely want to get your lender working quickly. One of the reasons for that is, more often than not these days, lenders are asking for appraisals. Mm-hmm. Especially if you bought a home and you paid a bit above market for it, or it's a home that's way out in the country and there aren't a lot of comparables. Chances are that your lender's going to ask for an appraisal, and that can cause some problems, because what we've seen is sometimes it's after you've waived your financing condition, because the lender has said you're approved for your financing, you're approved for the mortgage for the X number of dollars, and then it's a week or two before closing and you get a call saying, well, the lender wants an appraisal. And there's a real risk there, right? If you bought a house for $400,000 and every other house in that neighborhood has sold for $400,000, you're probably in pretty good shape. But if you've bought a one-of-a-kind property that there aren't a lot around it to use as comparables, or you've gotten caught up in a bidding war where you've paid substantially over asking and over what other homes have sold for in the neighborhood, there's a possibility that you'll have what we call the appraisal gap. And so that is that even though you've been approved for a mortgage of $500,000, the appraiser comes back and says that house is only worth $475,000, and you've got to make up the difference in your down payment. So that can be devastating. If you're a first-time buyer and you've scraped and scraped and scraped to get a 5% down payment together, and all of a sudden you're being told that you need thousands more for a down payment, that can be devastating. So that's one of the things, that's one of the conversations to have with your realtor and with your lender before you go forward with an offer. But,
and we have seen some deals fall through because of that.
Yeah.
The other thing to note about it is right now with the crazy market is the banks and the appraisers are super busy. So we can't bring them in immediately to do the appraisal. It's weeks and weeks later.
That's right. So there is that risk, and some people have gotten stuck. So not doom and gloom, but just something to think about. And a lot of times one of the conditions is a home inspection. So again, it's the buyer, it's really on the buyer to choose the home inspector that they want. We would never say this is the one and only home inspector. Again, we give referrals and say, here are home inspectors that, our buyers have experienced them and they're good. But contacting a home inspector quickly, because again, they can be very busy at times. So making sure that you can get your home inspection done. What I usually say is to get it done at least a day before the condition is due, because a lot of times the inspectors, they do the inspection and then they go back to their office, they're downloading, uploading, and then you get a digital report on the inspection. And most buyers want to read that through carefully before fulfilling any condition. What are home inspectors looking for? They're looking for the big stuff. They're looking at the roof, they're looking at foundations, they're checking plumbing, they're checking wiring. So, it's fairly intensive, and it takes at least an hour and a half, sometimes more, to have a proper home inspection done.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cost, we mentioned in another video, it's usually around $500.
Yeah, it can be higher if you need things like a wet inspection. So if there's a wood fireplace, wood stove, something like that, or if it's a very unique property, right? So again, making sure that you're prepared for those kinds of costs. The next thing you need to do is arrange insurance. And again, I always say give yourself a lot of time, because if it's an older home, the insurance companies may have a lot of questions and follow-up that they need to do. And you have to have insurance before your lender's going to release your mortgage.
That's right. And the next thing is giving your notice to your landlord. If you're renting right now, make sure that's done and you're ready to go.
And then there's all the stuff around moving, arranging utilities, booking a moving truck, changing your address, if you're going to do some work, if you want the house painted before you actually move in. So there's all of those details. So I know one of the things that we do when we're working with buyers is we use a tool where we actually set up a timeline. And it's like, here are the things you got to do. Here are your links to your resources. Here's when it's due, and it sets up reminders in Google Calendar and stuff like that, because it can be a little mind-numbing, but
overwhelming.
But again, if we go back a few videos to why do you want an agent? Why do you want a buyer agent? It's because our job is to
make things go as smoothly as possible.
Guide you from step 1 to step 2. And if you're, if you bought and sold homes 8 times, then you just need the basics. But if it's new to you, then we're actually there holding your hand. We've got your back.
And then you've got to start culling out the junk and packing up.
That's right.
That's a big job.
It's a big job. That I don't help with that job.
No. Although we did once.
We did
once.
You're right. And then, closing day. So what to expect. So a couple of days before closing, your lawyer's going to call. They're going to tell you how much cash you have to have, which will be in a certified check. So plan to go to the bank and get that done. The day before close, sometimes day of close, it's good to, with your realtor, do a final walkthrough. So making sure that, if you expect that they left the curtains are still there, that the appliances are working.
Still working.
That final walkthrough is kind of a last chance before you close to say, whoa, it's not what we expected.
And on your closing day, The tricky thing is on the closing day, you think, well, of course I'm going to get my keys at 10 o'clock in the morning and move in. But often,
not always.
It's mid-afternoon. Sometimes
That's right.
even late afternoon by the time you do.
Yeah, so we usually recommend don't plan on moving in on closing day. If you've got any flexibility at all, load the truck, go stay at an Airbnb and move in the next day.
Right.
And I think the big lunch bag letdown, because it's not like on TV, is the key transfer. So the keys will either be at the lawyers or, what we've been doing more recently is the keys get left in a lockbox at the property. These things you see on TV where the realtor comes up and hands you
the key.
That doesn't happen. And that's kind of a drag because I would like to be that hero handing the keys, but the keys will either be at the lawyer's office or at the property. You get a code, you open the door, and you walk into your new home. So if you have any questions, please contact us. And if you want to keep getting updates on buyer tips, seller tips, and the most recent listings, give us a subscribe. Thanks for listening.